Okay. Let me just see what I got to do. It's a Musicbi show. It's coming to you. It's me. It's Musicbi. Watch and come make music with me. Yeah, I don't know if that was going to be the intro, but hey, welcome to the first episode of the Musicbi show. We did a little test drive yesterday, and for the first few episodes, I'm just going to be learning some GarageBand on the iPhone. So, and taking you to the journey with me. Why the iPhone? Because it seems like it's should be easy enough, and you can make it on the fly, man. Everyone should know how to do it, like with the phone, and then upgrade to a computer. So, like when the idea strikes, you can be the ambassador. So today I'm going through studio hacks. On the YouTube channel, the iPhone GarageBand course, and let's see what they got to do. So you could see I got my phone display above me. I kicked that AirDroid to the curb because it just wasn't even connecting. So I got the reflector. I had to pay $20 for it. So we'll see if it's worth it. It has already kind of pissed me off because I know this is too much information, but it might save you. Instead of, I can't do window capture on OBS, I got to use a display capture and then crop it up. That's why I thought it was going to be dope and just show that little phone thing, but it looks like I'm going to have to put an overlay or something like that to make it clean. But, since this is the second episode of the show and nobody watches anyway, I don't give a shit. All right, so this is just practice, baby. So let's get on with the course. This is episode 1. There are about 22 episodes, so we'll see how many I could bear to get through today. I'll probably do half today, half tomorrow, but it's looking like each episode is about 5 to 7, 10 minutes long. So if I did it from start to finish, it would be, I don't know, about a few hours. So let's see if I got at least a couple hours in me today, and I'll be talking through it in the way, and you could see me doing stuff, and then you guys will witness greatness as I become good at this. All right, so let's watch some videos.
Hello everybody, it is Nat here, and welcome to my short course on GarageBand for iOS. This short course will be delivered for free via this YouTube channel, and I'm going to pop it in a playlist. By the end of the course, we'll probably have about 30 or 40 videos, a few minutes, anywhere up to 10 minutes in length. So feel free to have a look at that playlist when it's completed and skip forward to anything you want to learn. Otherwise, I would suggest following the course from start to finish so that you can learn everything there is to know about producing music in GarageBand, the iOS version. I'm going to be showing you all of the examples on the iPhone, as I believe more people have the iPhone version than they do the iPad. However, the iOS version works basically the same on the iPhone and the iPad. So if you're an iPad user, you can watch this course as well. You'll just notice that some of the graphical user interfaces are set up slightly differently because of the larger screen size on the iPad.
Okay, now we got the
You don't need any external devices to do this
better.
course. You don't need a MIDI keyboard. You don't need an iRig or any of the recording devices. All you need is either your iPhone or your iPad. I'm really looking forward to delivering this content to you. The GarageBand for iOS app has become a lot more powerful in the last few years, with the smartphone technology getting much better. So the Mac version of GarageBand and the iOS version are actually getting a lot closer in their ability to create release quality music. And I can show you that it's more than possible to use the GarageBand iOS app to create music that you could easily release on Spotify, or if you are a beat maker, you can make hip-hop, any style of beats really, and you can even sell these beats. You can license them to third parties or to an artist who wants to use the beat. I know many people who have used the GarageBand for iOS app to produce music that they've then sold, licensed, or even released themselves. So as I said before, this course is going to be delivered in the form of a single playlist on this YouTube channel, Studio Hacks. So if you're interested in doing the full course, make sure you subscribe to this YouTube channel, hit the alerts button, and you might also want to bookmark the playlist so you can go through. Each video is going to be numbered so you know which one you're up to. So thank you for your interest in the GarageBand for iOS course. I look forward to seeing you in the first video.
We can make some beats. It's probably off because I didn't get the frame rate.
Hello and welcome to video number 2 in the GarageBand for iOS course. In this video, I'm going to show you how you can create your first song and also show you some really important information about managing your songs, where they're saved to on your iPhone, and how you can sync them with other devices using the cloud, Google Drive, or even Dropbox. So when you open up GarageBand, it will automatically load the last song you've been working on. And if you want to create a new song, or if you want to get out of the song that you've most recently been working on, we need to hit the downward facing arrow on the top left hand corner right here. When I click on that, I then select My Songs. It's going to take us to this file browser. And this is actually a file browser on the actual phone. You'll see on the top left-hand corner it says on my iPhone. So we can go and click on that on my iPhone and it will show the various folders of the Files app. And even if we go further onto Browse, you'll see there's various locations such as the iCloud Drive, my iPhone, and on this phone I have Google Drive and Dropbox installed, so that will give me an option for that.
It's different.
Using the iCloud Drive or something like the Google Drive is a really good way if you have both an iPad and an iPhone, so you can work on a song on your iPhone when you're on the bus or just traveling anywhere, and then when you get back home and you want to look at it in a bit more closer detail, you can then open it up on the iPad, and any changes you've made, it will sync using that. I'm going to select on my phone. So we can see that these are some songs that I've already created. And when you create a new song, which I'm going to do now, it will ask you a few things. Do you want to create a live loop style recording, or do you just want to do the standard tracks like a traditional digital audio workstation? And then you have a number of options here. You can start out depending on how you want to start.
Live loops tracks. We learned that a little yesterday, but you know, the best to
record a few notes on a keyboard. Let's hit record here. It's going to count me in, and I'm just going to hit a few notes and hit stop, just so I have some information to save. And now if I go back out to the My Songs, it's going to show probably somewhere here a song called My Song. So that's the naming convention. It will just call it by default My Song 1, My Song 2, My Song 3. I would suggest naming your tracks so you can keep them in the good order and you can find your song ideas. Otherwise, you'll just have a folder that says My Song 1 through to My Song 76, which I've seen on some users' devices. So I'm going to click and hold on the song. Now, you'll notice also down the bottom, before I do that, we've got Browse and we've got Recent. So Recent and Browse are slightly different. Recent will just show any recent tracks you've been working on plus any labels that you've placed on them, tags rather. And then in the Browse, it's going to give us quite a lot more options. So in either the Recent or the Browse, you can hold your finger down on a song and it will give you options to copy. So you can copy it from this folder and you can pop it into your Google Drive or your iCloud, or you can just have a different folder called Backups if you want to save a work in progress. Duplicating that will make an exact copy of that within the same folder. You can select to move this to a different folder. So if I wanted to, say, hit move, and I had a different folder on my iPhone, or I wanted to move that to my iCloud, I can do that there. I can also select info. So this will give me information about the project, when it was created, when it was last worked on, and we can add some tags from here, or we can go back, click and hold on that and select tags. So we can add a colored tag to the song. Orange or yellow could be work in progress. Green can be a finished track, or red can be
that's cool.
a song that you've just started. Because then when you go to recent, it will show them under different these tag sort of labels. We can also rename the song by clicking and holding on it, which is what I would suggest.
Okay, how do you do that?
And then that way, if we can say new song or my song or hip hop beat, I'm going to call this hip hop beat 2, and we can even add an emoji there if we like. And there we go. And I'm going to pop a red label on that to say that it's a song that I've only just started. I can also delete ideas that I haven't really worked on or songs that I don't need anymore from this screen. And the last thing that we need to look at is there's an extra option under this browse menu. So we have a plus and a select on the top right-hand corner. If I hit plus, it's going to create a new song for me. I don't want to do that. I want to hit select. This is how we can export our song as an audio file. So if I hit select, you can see now each song has a circle on it, and I select the one I want to export, and then the menu changes down the bottom. On the farmost left, we can select the export option, which is export is often called share on iOS devices or on Mac OS devices. So on the far left, we can export our song as an MP3 or a WAV file or a number of different audio files. Once we're finished, we can save it as a ringtone, or we can export this as a project, which we can then send to our Mac and open up in the Mac version of GarageBand if we like. The other options are very similar. By just clicking and holding, we can duplicate, and I will actually delete that duplicated version. We can hit the middle little folder icon to move.
All right, we don't need to know this shit. We're trying to make some music here.
Let's have a look at how we can share a GarageBand song between different devices using the iCloud Drive. We're going to save.
Nope. Next one, video 4.
Okay, now that all the boring stuff is out of the way, such as getting the song settings correct, it's time to do something a little bit more interesting and actually create some music. So I've started a new song from scratch.
Come on.
A really good place to start when you're creating music is with the drums, because it gives you a rhythmic bed to build the rest of the track on. So the first way that we can create drums is called touch drumming. And when we're looking at the default screen at the start where it's asking us to create our first track, we're going to select acoustic drums, which is this little icon right here. That's going to load us up a drum kit, which we can simply just hit with our finger on the iPhone screen.
Oh, now we're both drumming together.
Okay. So there are a few things to note. There are some of these drums have slightly different sounds depending on where you hit them, such as the hi-hat.
There's a little bit of a delay
on the left-hand side and the bottom left. You get an open hi-hat sound. If you hit on the bottom right or on the right-hand side, you get a closed hi-hat, and you get the foot pedal style here up the top. Also, depending on how hard you hit it, there are some velocity settings. So if you hit softly, you get a soft sound. The harder you hit, you'll get a greater velocity. And we can change those settings. I'll show you in just a moment.
Maybe Android wasn't as bad as I thought.
Okay, so we can change the drum kit with the downward facing arrow on the top left-hand corner right here. And where it says SoCal, that is the name of this drum kit. If I select that, it will give me a fantastic list of drum kits, all different styles, different sounds. So I can select a bit more of an R&B sound here, and you'll see it will also change the appearance of the drum kit. And we can also select electronic drum kits. So I'm going to build a bit of a hip-hop beat in this tutorial. So I'm going to select electronic, and we have all these different drum machine emulations. I'm going to select the 808 Flex, and you'll see that the user interface changes slightly. We have more of a drum pad feel here. So these are all the different sounds. And when we're ready to start recording these, there are a few settings that I like to make sure are switched on to make this a lot easier. First of all, I like to have the metronome switched on, which is this icon here. When it's blue, it's activated. Secondly, I want to go to the track settings by clicking on the top right-hand corner on this cog right here, selecting track controls. This will give us some controls for this track under this track settings menu. I like to have the quantization on, which means that if I hit a note slightly out of time, it will snap it to the closest note of my choice. In this instance, I'm going to select straight, and I'm going to select 16th notes.
Oh, right there.
I also, under track settings, like to have the velocity sensitivity set to low rate,
I gotta go back.
and I'm going to select 16th notes.
Okay, 16th notes.
I also, under track settings, like to have the velocity sensitivity set to low when I'm recording electronic drums, so that there's not too much of a variance between the volumes of each hit. You might have to set that to medium or high for acoustic drums. And under recording, I always like to make sure that merge recording is on. That way we don't have to record all of the drums at once. We can let it loop over and over and record one or a couple of drums at a time. So I'm going to hit this icon here to collapse those track settings, or I can just hit the track settings, go back there and then hit that.
That's a little difference from the years.
Now, I'm going to hit this little plus icon on the top right-hand corner, because at the moment, the default amount of bars on this section is 8. I only want to record a 4-bar loop. So I'm going to hit done, and that's going to change the length of this section to just 4 bars. And when I hit record, it should give me a count in, and I can start recording first the kick and the snare, and then I'll start layering other drum sounds as I continue to play.
Oh, this sounds exciting.
First of all, right off the bat, I've just realized that the song, because I've created a new song, it's way too fast. So I'm going to hit this cog and select the song settings. I'm going to change the tempo right here down to something a little bit more appropriate for the style of beat I'm creating. And I'm going to select 90 beats per minute. Let's try that again. So let's have a listen there. It has quantized those notes to be right on the beat. So let's add some hi-hats now.
Okay.
And then some other elements.
All right, let me try. Give me a break, guys. This is a little delay. As you can see, I'm pressing there, and then that's like the delay of the sound. But I'm gonna try it anyways for the sake of humiliation. We get this shit right later. Right, let's see the top of the hi-hat. Well, not too terrible, pretty bad, but not super bad. I like that merge recording though. Add a little clap in there next time. Let's see. And we'll add one little shaker in there just because shake your booty, and then we should be done with this garbage. It's garbage delay, bro. Okay, now we can play. Let me stop this cray. Let's check out what it looks like on the big screen, guys. Wow. What a mess, bro. What a mess. That's some futuristic music right there for you, man. That's some Ross Geller friends.
And some shakers.
Hey, this guy's beat doesn't sound too much better. He has got no delay. Can I get amen to that, guys? Can I get amen to that?
You can see as I'm going, it's layering those instruments over. Let's add an open hi-hat. Okay, beautiful. So now I've got a nice little beat going on there, and I can switch back to the track view by hitting this icon here. And that will then enable me, if I want, to edit any of those notes if I want to after that performance. So if I double click on that region there, that green part, I can hit edit, and this will give us the piano roll editor or the MIDI editor. Well, we can go in and see. I can pinch in and push out to go on a horizontal axis. I can do it on a vertical axis if I want. And these are all the hits here on the left hand side. You can actually hit them to hear which drum is which. So if I wanted to add in a extra hi-hat, let's say if I missed one, I might add an extra hi-hat in the second bar here. I can hold my finger down on this little pencil here and just click on a spot, and it will create a new note for me. And when I click on that note, I can delete it. I can change the velocity of that, which is how hard the note was hit. And I can copy or cut that note. So let's listen to that, what that's done there. So that's added in an extra note. So if I hit a note that I didn't want, I can go in here, I can edit this and get rid of that note. I'm going to hit done. So we can now, if we want,
cool. That's hella cool.
Extend this section of this song by hitting this little plus button back out to 8 bars in length. Select 8. And you'll notice that it's automatically looped that region for me up to be 8 bars in length. If I wanted to do that manually, I simply double click on that region and select loop. And I can resize the loop by just clicking and holding on the edge and dragging it in and out. So that's a really fantastic way of creating drums using the touch drum method.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Not gonna lie, that is pretty cool. Learned a couple new things in that video, and we're on to the next video. Smart drums, not fart drums, it's smart drums. Shout out, give a like if you think this video is pretty fire.
GarageBand has multiple ways to create a drum track, and if you're not too keen on tapping in your performances, there's a slightly more user-friendly way of creating drum beats, and that is called the Smart Drummer. So first of all, I'm going to mute this track because I want to keep what I did with the tap drums. To mute a track, I simply select the track and then hit the cog on the top right-hand corner. Under track controls, I'm going to select this mute button right here. That's going to just make sure that I don't hear anything on that track at all. We have some other track controls here like the solo button, the panning from left to right, and the track volume, which we can alter. But for now, I'm just going to mute that track. So let's create a new track by hitting the plus on the bottom left-hand side. And instead of selecting the acoustic drums like we did last time, we're now going to select this smart drums.
The smart drums.
Here. Now, the smart drums is more of an automatic drum generator. And it's pretty simple, pretty easy to use, and it's very powerful. I love this because you can randomize and basically create beats from scratch really, really quickly. So to get started, we want to make sure that we have the right sounds. So I'm going to select this downward facing arrow here. And by default, it's given me the hip hop drum machine. There are a few options. You can use live. There are 3 live kits and 3 electronic kits. I'm going to stay on hip hop drum machine because that's kind of the track I'm making. And you simply drag one of these 6 icons from the right over and place it on the grid. And that's going to automatically start playing a loop for me for that kick. Now I can make it simple to the left, complex to the right, louder to the top, and quieter at the bottom. So I'm going to pop this kick drum. I'm going to make a real simple and nice and punchy. Maybe bring that back just a little bit. Now I can add a hi-hat in. I want to make this more complex but a bit quieter, so I'll drop it there. Let's add a snare in. So you can experiment with dragging this around and popping it on different areas, different nodes within that grid. I'm going to add a shaker. I want that shaker to be louder. Let's add some cymbals in. Let's make them quiet and simple. And let's add a loud, complex clap. That clap's a bit, I don't really like the sound of that clap. I'm going to leave that out. We can turn the loop on and off using this button here. If we hit that reset button right there, it's going to basically start from scratch again. But I can then now record this beat onto this track that I've created by hitting the record button right here. So that's now recording, and I can change these elements dynamically, and it's going to remember that in the recording. So it's going to record this and make these changes. Okay, so if I want to look at what I just recorded there, I can go back to the track view by selecting this icon here. And you'll see there now that that has recorded all those changes that I made, and I do have an 8-bar drum loop now. And I can edit this region if I want. If I liked the first half only, I can do that. I can also loop this section. I can do whatever I want. If I don't like that, I can double click on it and select delete. And then I can get back to the view I was just on by hitting this icon here. Let's go back, because there's another cool feature with this. It's this little dice button. It will create a random beat for you. And this can be really good if you're just looking, if you're a bit stuck with your creativity and you're in a bit of a rut and you just want a quick beat of a quick feel. So you can just keep hitting that, and it's going to randomly place in, the different drums and create beats from scratch.
Okay.
keep going here. Beautiful. I like that one. Let's record 4 bars of that. Okay, and we can turn that metronome off if we want. We don't really need it for this example. So let's go back to the track view and have a look at what we've got. We have, so that's actually given me one too many bars. I only wanted 4 bars. So I'm going to grab the edge of this and bring it back in. And I'm going to loop that. There you go. So that's the drum beat. Now, I feel like I want to add a little bit of reverb to this, so I'm going to go up to the cog on the top right hand corner, select the track controls, and scroll down a little bit. I'm going to compress this a bit, make it more punchy. I'm going to add a bit of reverb. I like to be fairly minimal when I'm using reverb. The best way to use reverb is to just put a little bit on so you can just hear the effect a little bit, but it's not too oversaturated. It will cause problems in your mix down the line if you start saturating everything with reverb. So that's a quick look at the fantastic tool, which is the Smart Drummer.
All right, on to the next one. On to the next one.
Okay, we've had a look at recording touch drums and the Smart Drummer, and there is another way to create a drum track that is really effective, and it's an automatic beat generator or drum generator. It's called the Virtual Drummer. I'm going to hit the Add Track with this plus icon here, and if you're familiar with the Mac version of GarageBand, this is very similar to a drummer track in the Mac OS X version of GarageBand. So here we can select acoustic, electronic, or percussion. In this instance, I'm going to select acoustic. And this will generate an automatic region for you. And we can then change the various elements.
Wait, what do you do?
Mac version of GarageBand drum track that is really effective, and it's an automatic beat generator or drum generator. It's called the Virtual Drummer. I'm going to hit the Add Track with this plus icon here. And if you're familiar with the Mac version of GarageBand, this is very similar to a drummer track in the Mac OS X version of GarageBand. So here we can select acoustic, electronic, or percussion. In this instance, I'm going to select acoustic, and this will generate an automatic region for you. And we can then change the various elements, and we can also change the drummer profiles. So let's have a quick listen to the default loadout pattern here. Okay, so that's a basic rock beat. We can change the drummer profile, which will also change the sound of the drum kit by hitting the menu arrow on the top left-hand corner. And you'll see there where it says Kyle. That is a drummer profile, a virtual drummer profile. So we can go through, these are actually updated on a fairly regular basis, and they add new drummers in the menu arrow on the top left-hand corner. And you'll see there where it says Kyle. That is a drummer profile, a virtual drummer profile. So we can go through, these are actually updated on a fairly regular basis, and they add new drummers in and new content, new drum kits. So you can see we've got different styles. We've got rock, pop, alternative, R&B. We have electronic styles for hip hop and various electronic styles. I'm going to go to the acoustic styles and go down to one of these R&B, neo soul. And then we can start changing the parameters of this beat by clicking on this little box here. And it's similar to the Smart Drummer, but this is a global setting for all of the drums. We can make it louder, softer, more simple, more complex. And up in this corner, it will be loud and complex. Down in that corner, it'll be soft and simple. Let's have a listen to something that's loud and complex. Now that's soft and simple. I'm going to leave that right in the middle for the moment. Okay, so we can stop and start this just with the stop and the play button up the top there. There's the play, there's the stop. Now we can begin to edit other elements of this beat. We can change how many and how often the drum fills occur. So up to the right will be more often, and then that'll be no fills, drum fills at all. Let's pop that halfway up. And that will add a drum fill probably every 2 or 4 bars. We can also change the patterns of the hi-hat and the kick and snare by clicking on the number there and holding down, pushing our finger down rather. So down to the left is more simple, down to the right is more complex. Let's select some more complex. These will change the actual patterns that are being played. Let's listen to this one. Okay. We can also add in some percussion by clicking on one of these icons here, the hand clap, the shaker, or the tambourine. And we can change, instead of the hi-hat, we can have a tom pattern or cymbal pattern. I'm going to go with this shaker and the hi-hat. I'm going to change the kick and snare pattern down here, if it will let me, to 5. And let's have a listen. Okay, that will do for the moment. Now, unlike the Smart Drummer or Touch Drums, we don't actually have to record anything. If we go back to the track view, you'll see that that region is just there for us. And there's a few things we can do with this region. If I want to cut that in half by grabbing the edge and making that only 4 bars long, I can then make a copy of that. I can go copy, and I have to paste, but I have to make sure that I've moved the playhead to the point where I want to paste it. I'm going to click in an empty space on that same track and select paste. Now I'm going to go back to the Virtual Drummer interface by clicking this button right here. And we can now make changes on this one and this one, and they will be separate. So if I want a tambourine and hi-hats, and if I want more fills, I'm going to get the fills up here. I'm going to also change the cymbal pattern to be more complex. Let's listen to how this will change. And this can be good if you've got a verse and a chorus. It'll be similar beat because it's the same drummer profile, but it will be altered slightly, the elements of that beat. So that's a fantastic way to add some variation in your tracks. Now there's also the ability to have different playing profiles right here. The loadout for this particular drummer is called Lay It Down, but if I click on that, these are different player presets, and it will change the style of the playing and also change the tone of the drums. Let's select something else. I've never actually listened to this one before, Urban Suite. Let's see what that does. So these are different style presets. So you keep the drummer and it will just change the style of how they're playing. So feel free to go through there and have a good, experimentation with the different playing presets until you find something you really like. For the moment, I'm going to keep this on Lay It Down, and I'm going to keep this how it is. So that is everything you need to know at this stage about the Virtual Drummer.
All right, on to the next video. That was pretty cool.
Let's now have a look at the song settings. These are very important to know about before you start creating music, because if you get the wrong settings before you start your project, it can cause some hassles down the track. You can access the song settings by clicking the little cog wheel on the top right-hand corner of the screen and selecting Song Settings. Okay, this is where you access everything in the background, such as the metronome and count-in. Let's have a look at that one there. So the count-in is the 4 little clicks that you hear at the start when you hit the record button. And you also have an option to turn, so you can turn the count-in on and off. You can have a visual count-in. So let's have a look at what the visual count-in looks like. When we record, it shows you that 1, 2, 3, 4. So that can be helpful sometimes if you're more of a visual person. Under this, we can actually change the sound of that click. There's a click woodblock. You can go through some of these different sounds. And you can also change the volume of that metronome click if it's too loud or if you can't hear it. Oops, I'll just go back here. Okay, now this is where we can set the tempo. This is how fast our track is in beats per minute, and you can manually select the tempo if you know how fast it is, or if you're just going by a vibe and you think it's, you know, around about a certain amount, you don't know much about BPM, you can just tap it here. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So there we go. That guessed roughly that was about 93 beats per minute. That can be handy for people who aren't as musically literate, or if you're just in a rush and you just want to quickly get the feel of it using that setting. Now, if I go back, I select the time signature. Now, normally in standard sort of music production, especially at the level of music production that we're using for GarageBand, you generally don't really go outside of 4/4. This is standard Western music. This is pop music. However, if you want your song to have a 3/4 or a 6/8 feel, you can change that here. So instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, you will hear it as 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3, 3, 2, 3. Or with 6/8, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this can be handy if you want your song to have a different feel. There are a few examples of modern pop songs that are in 3/3 or 6/8. We can also change the key signature here. The key signature is important if you want to be able to transpose your song later down the line, and it tends to follow the key of the song. And this is for the use of auto-tune and things like that. This is a little bit more of an advanced feature, and we might cover this in particular in a later video when we're dealing with auto-tune and transposing. But if you know your song is in D minor, it's very handy to select this first, and the follow song key will affect things like auto-tune and transpose. Next, we have a look at the fade out. So you can have a fade out at the end of your song if you like. That's just a generic preset. I haven't used that actually on the iOS yet, but I'm assuming this is a generic sort of preset fade out, a linear fade out at the end. The notepad, you can leave detailed notes about this particular session. If you're sharing it with somebody else, you can leave them some notes there. Jam session is a fantastic new feature where you can join with other creators nearby via Bluetooth or Wi-Fi, and you can actually jam all together in the same session. So if you have a friend over or a group of friends, all with iPhones, all with GarageBand, you can jam and create a song all together. Make sure you're all connected to the same Wi-Fi network. Okay, under advanced, we have multi-track recording. This will give you the ability to record 2 tracks at once or more, even when there's no audio device with multiple inputs detected. So if you had, say, a 2-input audio device that was usable via a lightning cable, and you can use that, and you can record a guitar and a voice at the same time, then it will automatically detect that. If for some reason the automatic detection isn't working properly, you can switch on multi-track recording and manually select which tracks you want to record which instrument on. 24-bit audio resolution, I always use this because being a big fan of high quality audio, I like to use the maximum quality that is available to me. When you use 24-bit recording, the files that you record will be roughly twice as big than if you have this deselected. It will use Redbook audio, which is 16-bit audio resolution, and the exported files will be larger, especially if it's an uncompressed audio format such as WAV or AAC. So just be wary that you will get larger file sizes, but you will get the maximum quality of audio available. Run in background will mean that the GarageBand will stay open in the background when you're running other apps. I tend not to have this selected because it saves automatically when you exit anyway. If you know you're going to be switching back to another app and then back to GarageBand quickly and a lot, you can have this. Now we have the ability to select a Bluetooth MIDI device. So in the last few years, we've had some fantastic Bluetooth MIDI devices available, which means you can get a keyboard totally externally with no wires attached, and you can control the software instruments in GarageBand for your iOS device, which is fantastic. I don't have one nearby at this studio, so I'm not going to select anything there. But that's how you'd set it up. Make sure that your device is on discovery mode. We can also send the MIDI clock, which means that the iOS device will transmit its MIDI information such as tempo and song keys and things to external devices or apps that you're connected to. It will make GarageBand the master and the other devices the slave. So those are all the basic and advanced settings that we can look at before starting a project, and we will see you in the next video.
Okay.
Okay, there's one final way to create a drum track, and it's my personal favorite.
All right,
it's
after that, guys,
beat
I need to take a
sequencer.
break.
And we access it
butt is
via
hurting.
when we create a new track. It's under the drum menu, and here's the icon here, beat sequencer. This is really fun. This is more like an old school drum machine. And we basically create beats by, as soon as I click on one of these colored squares, it's going to start looping a section here. So I can just click up right up the top. This pink one here is a kick drum. And I just click on them and start sequencer. This is really fun. This is more like an old school drum machine. And we basically create beats by, as soon as I click on one of these colored squares, it's going to start looping a section here. So I can just click up right up the top. This pink one here is a kick drum. And I just click on them and start sequencing a beat here. So I can click some hi-hats in. I can pop some tom hits. And then if I want to stop that from playing, I can just switch it off with this icon here. Now I can change the drums or add some drums to this sequence by going down and hitting this plus button here. So I can add in a cowbell or rim shot, or these are all the options with this particular one. If I want, I can add the cowbell here. So let's listen to how that sounds. That's an old school cowbell. I don't really like the sound of that. I'm going to change that by clicking on it and selecting a different kit piece. Let's try the rim shot. It actually sounds like the metronome to me. So let's try a shaker. Under this little menu on the right, we can change the velocity of individual notes by clicking that velocity and then clicking and touching our finger on an individual note and dragging up or down. So this can be really good for humanizing the beat and creating some variance in the velocity, which is kind of like the volume or how hard it gets hit.
I guess I should be paying attention.
It actually sounds like the the metronome to me. So
then you can add more
let's
piece
try a
kits.
shaker. To this sequence by going down and hitting this plus button here. So I can add in a cowbell or rim shot, or these are all the options with this particular one. If I want, I can add the cowbell here. So let's listen to how that sounds. That's an old school cowbell. I don't really like the sound of that. I'm going to change that by clicking on it and selecting a different kit piece. Let's try the rim shot. It actually sounds like the metronome to me. So let's try a shaker. Under this little menu on the right, we can change the velocity of individual notes by clicking that velocity and then clicking and touching our finger on an individual note and dragging up or down. So this can be really good for humanizing the beat and creating some variance in the velocity, which is kind of like the volume or how hard it gets hit. We can also use this arrow here, upward facing arrow, to select the note repeat, which I really like. We can split a note in half if we want. That's how we get these trap sounding hi-hats. So I just click on it and it will split it. If I click and hold, I can choose anywhere up to 4 notes or back to 1 note. So let's have a listen to what 3 sounds like on these 2 hi-hat hits. Oops, I'm just going to turn this on down the bottom. Fantastic. If I want to, anywhere up to 4, a note in half if we want. That's how we get these trap sounding hi. Select the note repeat, which I really like. We can split a note in half if we want. That's how we get these trap sounding hi-hats. So I just click on it and it will split it. If I click and hold, I can choose anywhere up to 4 notes or back to 1 note. So let's have a listen to what 3 sounds like on these 2 hi-hat hits. Oops, I'm just going to turn this on down the bottom. Fantastic. If I want to go back to adding or removing notes, I can just simply go back to this step on off. Now, this is a 1 bar loop that we've created. I might want to create more than 1 bar. So to do that, we select this I here, the info. And at the moment, the step length is 16th notes that I'm able to edit. And so 1 full step is 16 steps, 1 full bar rather. So I'm going to click on this and select 32, which will give me now these 2 bars up the top here. So I can alter the second bar to be slightly different or have a drum roll. Or full step is 16, a 1 bar loop that we've created. I might want to create more than 1 bar. So to do that, we select this I here, the info. And at the moment, the step length is 16th notes that I'm able to edit. And so 1 full step is 16 steps, 1 full bar rather. So I'm going to click on this and select 32, which will give me now these 2 bars up the top here. So I can alter the second bar to be slightly different or have a drum roll or something along those lines in it. So let's see if I can add in some extra beats here and some variance towards the end, and maybe add in something extra such as a high tom here. So let's listen to now a 2 bar loop. Beautiful. Now, if I wanted to add that to my track, I would simply hit all the way back to the start with this button right here, and then hit record. And because this is only a 2 bar loop, I only really need to record 2 bars of it. Okay, so now if I go over to the track view, I might just need to trim this down, this region, to 2 bars. There we are, 2 bars in length. So that's how you can get that beat sequence that you've created out into your composition. I'm going to go back to the beat sequencer by hitting this button right here. There are a few extra features here which are really handy. What we can do is create a random beat with this dice. So this will just create complete randomness for us. Can be fun to just flick through that for a few minutes until you find something surprisingly good. Okay. Some of them might sound really weird. We can also start off with a preset pattern. So there are a lot of these. We can flick through these, and these are pre-made beats that Apple have given you, and in various styles. So let's have a listen. Let me see if I can find some hip hop style ones here. So that's like a halftime feel, that one. So if I select done, that's going to load that up onto my beat sequence for me. I can change the drum kit and the sounds that I have access to as well in this view by clicking the downward facing arrow. So this is the modern 808 at the moment, but I have access to all of the acoustic and electronic drum kits, as well as extra percussion. So you can create some percussive elements to a song. So I'm going to stay with the 808 sounds for the moment, but you can see there are dozens of different drum kits that you can try out with this. The other thing is, under this info panel, we can add other things such as swing, and we can change the step length, which will change the speed that it's played at. This can be handy sometimes. We can change it to 32 notes or eighth notes for more simple beats. We can also change the playback mode. We can reverse it so we can hear what our beat would sound like in reverse. We can also change the playback mode to ping pong, which will go forward and backwards. So when it hits the end, it will reverse. So this is a great way. This is actually my favorite way of creating, beats on the fly, creating tracks, because you have a lot of control over it. And then once you like the sequence that you've made, you can simply record it into your arrangement here. And then if you didn't like it, you can simply delete that region and record in a new one. So that is the beat sequencer. And next we're going to have a look at adding some other instruments into our composition.
All right, guys, I gotta take a break, but I'll probably be back in like 20 to 30 minutes, then we'll knock this course out. Let's go, baby. Let's go.